Most high school hitters think they can figure it all out alone, but they're stuck at the same exit velocity for months. It's never been more important to stop believing the lies that have been keeping you from breaking through. There are simply too many players that you are competing with. Good news is, most players believe the same exact lies as you. And they also actually haven't figured out what is keeping them stuck. So I'm going to share with you right now the 3 biggest myths that you believe about baseball development, and why over 30 of my athletes have broken through once they stopped believing these lies. By the end of the video, you will be able to identify what is holding you back and what to do instead. Now, what most players believe is that more information equals better results, or they just need to work harder. But that's not actually how development works. You need to understand that improvement, especially one that is coming out of a plateau, is about precision and not volume. And this is the myth trap. I can figure this out all alone by working harder. And all of the myths I'm going to talk about today follow this overarching belief. So the first myth we have to break through in order to improve is believing that more is better, right? One more YouTube video, one more swing breakdown, one more swing in the cage. And then finally something will click, right? Because that's what most players do when they are stuck. You save drills from Instagram, you watch swing breakdowns, and you ask ChatGPT for workout plans. And it comes down to this exact thought process. If I just have the right piece of information, then everything will change. But here is the massive problem with that. You already have access to all the information. It's free, it's everywhere. You can literally watch MLB swings frame by frame. You can read about hip hinge mechanics. You can study training modalities that transfer right into your swing. You can study proven and scientifically backed training modalities for the weight room. But none of that is changing your development or swing. Because information without feedback is just entertainment. Because at the end of the day, input does not equal output. Meaning you can't just watch a YouTube video and magically execute what you learned. You need somebody to watch you and actually tell you what's working and not working in your body. Not what's happening in some generic YouTube breakdown. Now, one example here, my athlete Danny. He was familiar to his mechanical flaws to an extent. Ultimately, he understood that his backside was not generating the power that he wanted to in his swing. And because of that, his EV was stuck. Because he could not apply that information to his own swing. He didn't know what to do that actually changed how his body moved, felt, and cued. So we stopped just feeding him information and actually gave him targeted feedback. He jumped to dang near 97 exit velocity in game during a showcase. So all of that to say, all of the information that you consume to an extent does not matter. What actually matters is if you have somebody watching you, your swing, and your mechanics, and they give you legitimate tools to help fix those limitations. Myth number 2, and I alluded to this at the beginning of the video, I gotta work harder. And this one is super dangerous because it sounds very logical. It sounds right. You see committed guys grinding every single day. You see D1 players posting their workouts, and you think, I just gotta do more. Your brain makes that jump for you, and like I said, it sounds correct. So what do? More swings, more sprints, more lifts, more band work. And then nothing really changes. Your swing still doesn't look right, and now you're burnt out. And also confused because you're working harder than most guys around you that are already committed. But here's the exact problem. You're working hard, yes, that's a great thing, but you're working hard on the wrong things. Hard work without direction is just motion, it is not progress. Again, if your programming is not built for your body, the volume increase is just reinforcing bad habits. So here's what I do in my programming for my athletes. I identify their limiter. What's the one thing that's limiting you the most right now? If you can identify that and specifically target it, and then build a plan around it, that works way better for my athletes rather than doing everything and hoping that it sticks. And as far as volume goes, I found that 3 real targeted hitting sessions with legitimate feedback works way better than 6 absolutely random hitting sessions throughout the week just trying to fill in a checkbox. And don't forget, the weight room actually plays a role in your hitting mechanics. So you need to structure those lifts around proper patterning and sequencing for your swing, aka exercises that reinforce good habits. Now, other than just working harder, there's actually another trap within this way of thinking. Players think if I just stay patient and keep grinding, I will get what I deserve, everything will click. But patience needs precision. One example, I'll share my own story, right? I'm sure you know this by now if you followed my Instagram or my YouTube, but I tore my UCL twice in college. I tore it once, and then in my desperate attempt to come back, I tore it again. Again, you know why? Because I was grinding 6 days a week with no structure. I thought the effort was enough, and I thought that if I worked harder, my body would simply adapt. But I was reinforcing my already flawed mechanics. I was overloading certain movements that I shouldn't have even been loading in the first place. And nobody was watching me closely enough to catch it. So all that hard work, it injured me twice. That's when I realized effort without direction not only keeps you stuck, but it could potentially injure you. So anything that you're doing should be backed up by a clear reason as to why you are doing it. Also evidence that it is working, and not because it feels hard or looks impressive. Now the third myth, this is the one that keeps hitters stuck the longest. I already know what's wrong with my swing, bro. I record it every lesson. So you think by just filming your swing and watching it back, you'll be able to see what's wrong and fix it yourself, right? You think, okay, my barrel's too steep, I need to flatten it out. You think, okay, my barrel's too flat, I need to steepen it up. So you go back to the cage and you try to fix it. Maybe it looks better, maybe it feels good. You don't really know at the end of the day because you can't see what you can't see. When you watch your own swing, you most likely see the symptom and not the cause. Yeah, your barrel's flat, but did you see that your hips are firing early, which is actually causing the flat barrel? You see your posture collapsing, but you have a huge mobility restriction, and it's forcing that compensation. You see the end result, but you have no idea what is causing it. And when you try to fix the symptom without fixing the root cause, nothing really changes and you probably overly compensate in another area right after. So here's what I do with my video analysis process. First, I break it down frame by frame. I look at ground force, sequencing, posture, and timing. Not just what it looks like, but what's actually happening biomechanically. And as far as identifying the root cause, it's much easier to have a coach that can spot the real limiter in 30 seconds opposed to guessing about your own swing for 6 months. Now, other than just filming your swing, there's also another problem here. Even if you can identify what's wrong, you still don't know which cue or drill will fix your body. Because everybody is different. One drill that you find on Instagram that works for this guy may be different for you. Another example, my athlete Liam. He knew that something was wrong in his swing, and he felt sped up as he delivered the barrel. He tried cues that he could find online, but nothing really worked. So when we analyzed his swing, we found that he had terrible hip mobility and was not creating ground force through his backside through squatting on his rear leg. His body could not do what he was trying to tell it to do. So first, we addressed the mobility, and then drilled his squatting sequence in his back leg. And he hit the hardest ball he's ever hit in his life at practice, right in front of the coach who he was looking to impress before the season, because we fixed the root issue that was limiting him. Filming your swing is great, but you need somebody who knows what they're looking at, and somebody who can tell you what's actually wrong and not what you think is wrong. Now that we've gone through all 3 myths, let me tell you what actually creates breakthroughs. It's not more information, more effort, or a self-diagnosis. It's structure, build, and equip, my SBE framework. First, you need structure, and you need to identify your limiter. Do not try to fix everything at once. Then you need to build systemically. That means your lifting supports your swing. Your mobility routines address your weaknesses. And your programming is based on and adapts to if you're in season, off season, fatigue, load, all the above. Finally, you need to equip yourself so you can transfer it onto the field. You need to physically and mentally transfer what you've done off the field onto the field. So confidence backed by proof and measurable metrics that you simply cannot deny. When you have structure, build, and equip, that is when breakthroughs happen. Danny hit a PR during a showcase, and Liam in front of his varsity coach at practice. Not because they worked harder, because they stopped believing these myths and followed a system. I'm working with uncommitted high school hitters who are serious about having a breakthrough. So if you want to see what remote training actually is and compare where you are now versus where you could be, that is something you can explore. But it is definitely not for everyone. You have to want to play college baseball and be familiar with your current metrics. If that's you and you're coachable and willing to follow a system and not just collect more information and randomly grind, then I can definitely help you. So stop believing these myths and start following something that actually works. Link in the description to apply, and you can schedule a call with me. Let's get to work, brother.